Hey everyone, good evening. I'm JD Washington. I'm coming to you today or this evening to talk about phone scams and how to avoid them. Bottom line is, this is something that's aggravating everyone, and from those calls that you get for the extended warranty, people calling you, scaring you, saying that you know you owe this, you owe that, you owe this, you owe that. Why I believe I came on to talk about this is because it has gotten to the point. I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but people are losing thousands and thousands of dollars to these phone scams. You also have the internet scams, like the email scams, also that people are doing and perpetrating, and those are horrible, also, right? Because they're putting viruses on your computer. They're actually cloning whatever you're doing. So they sometimes input programs onto your browser that pretty much every keystroke that you make, they actually mimic that, right? So you have a lot of these scams that's going on that's pretty much out of control. So we're going to talk about phone scams today. I'm going to give you a little bit of tips. This is probably going to be like a 2 or 3 part series. I also want to give you guys some resources that if you are a victim of a phone scam or you know someone that's a victim of a phone scam, you can actually help them out and give them some type of pointers on how to deal with it. We're going to start with, right? So this is basically phone scams. Don't fall victim to them, right? And we'll go from this. And I'm also going to tell you, my name is again JD Washington. I'm the CEO of SEQ Project 2060. Basically, what we are is a community action group that, when we see an issue in the community, we try to lobby politicians, the government, and elected officials, different people to solve that issue, right? Because there's a lot of big issues that everyone's aware of, but there's little issues that become annoyances. But at another time, we'll talk about that. You can follow us on Twitter at Project 2060, or on Facebook. You can follow us at Project 20 SEQ Project 2060. So let's get right into it. So you guys get some great information. Phone scams, sophisticated phone scams, they use the trust of victims that they have in their own government and law enforcement agencies against them. Victims of this type of phone scam are not limited to senior citizens. And that's something else we want to get into tonight about senior citizens, because they are falling victim to these phone scams heavy. These criminals are targeting every strata of society, and every demographic is vulnerable. If you even suspect a call to be fraudulent, don't take a chance, just hang up. Bottom line, don't entertain it. Don't listen to what they have to say. Hang up, and we're going to go over that. How is this crime being committed? Right. So you have victims are contacted by the Social Security Administration and advised that their Social Security number has been used to open numerous accounts or is involved in some sort of drug trafficking or money laundering operation. I get these calls all the time. And people believe that it's Social Security or whatever. To protect their money or to avoid being arrested, victims have to send various sums of money to help resolve the situation. The most common forms of payment requested are prepaid gift cards, Bitcoin, and bank wire transfers. This is a scam. Anytime, we got to talk about the fact that the Social Security will never, ever, ever call you. Ever call you. They will never call you. Social Security, any government agency will not dial your phone number at all. They will first start with some form of mail correspondence, right? That's the first thing. And then they will send numerous letters before any type of action is taken against you. So we're talking about, at this point, we're talking about Social Security Administration scams. Anytime they reach out to you is going to be by mail or even certified mail. Sometimes they might do that. But you know something's not right if they request to be paid through prepaid gift cards, Bitcoin, and bank wire transfers. I've had people go in and they will pretty much purchase 100 gift cards, right? Depending on the amount of money they're trying to send to someone, 100 gift cards. That's crazy, right? Some of these stores are being told that if someone comes in and they try to purchase large amounts of gift cards, that to just at least say something to them, say, hey, listen, this could be a scam, you should think about it. But for some reason, some people are just dead set on fulfilling whatever this person is saying to them. So they will just go ahead, and if they can't get the gift cards at that store, they will go to another store and get some gift cards, or they'll go to multiple stores and get gift cards. Bitcoin. Most people don't even understand what Bitcoin are, but what these scammers will do is they will tell you where to go to the Bitcoin ATMs and purchase Bitcoin. If you don't even know what Bitcoin is, you should know that the Social Security Administration would never ask you to pay for anything in Bitcoin. And in bank wire transfers, never do that, because you're actually sending these people your routing number and your account number sometimes. So never do that. And then we have another set of phone scams is, in many cases, a person posing as a police officer or law enforcement official will intimidate or threaten victims to gain compliance. Victims are told that they will be arrested or their assets will be frozen. Scammers have claimed to be NYPD, FBI, New York State Police, Texas PD, and LAPD. Scammers employ technology called spoofing. Now, make sure you pay attention to this. Called spoofing, to manipulate caller IDs to display the number of Social Security Administration, other official agencies, including the NYPD precincts, and in some cases, the scammer uses the names of real police officers assigned to those precincts. So think about this. They are calling you from the precinct phone number. It could be the precinct phone number. It could be FBI phone number, because actually if you call the number back, it will go to those places. They also sometimes use the actual officers' names. It's not hard to find different officers from that precinct's name and then being able to use them. They could say, hey, listen, I'm Officer so-and-so and I'm calling you. And then when you get scared and you say, well, look, I'm gonna try this number back. Yes, it is the precinct. And then you do ask for the officer, and it is an officer there. But I'm going to tell you, I have 15 years in law enforcement. I'm going to tell you how it works when it comes to the precinct or police. One, if we call you, we'll ask, the detective squad might ask, hey, there's a report against you. Come down, we'll talk to you, right, in person. So you'll know it's the precinct, it's a detective, it's a real person. You'll know that. Another thing is, the precinct or the police department will never tell you and say, oh, you're going to get arrested. This is what's going on, and you're going to get arrested. The precinct and law enforcement don't operate like that. You will not know that you're going to get arrested. What usually happens, and this is what I tell people, 4 a.m, they knock on your door when you're good and sleep, and they'll drag you out of bed. You'll be at work. They'll come to your job. They'll drag you out of your job. There's never a time where we are going to ever come to you and tell you that you're going to be arrested. That we don't intimidate people that way. What we do is we will actually just come and arrest you, right? So that's how you would know. Also on that spoofing technology, like we talked about, pretty much it is our phone number. It is law enforcement phone numbers. But the best thing to do is reach back out, say, I want to get a hold of this officer, and wait for that officer to call you back. If you don't get any confirmation, just know that it's some type of scam. Just know that that's what it is. Imposter scams, right? How is this crime being committed? The scammer will often stay on the phone with the victims. Well, I got to start at another part. So imposter scams, they will use a person to portray a senior's, not even a senior. They'll portray your child. They'll portray as somebody that you know. It's easy now with the internet to actually pretty much get your family members' information. So if you live in that house, there's some sites on the internet that will say, "Oh, this is so and so," so they live with or connected to these people. And what they do is they basically just say, "Hey, I'm so and so, and I'm in trouble. Can you help me?" Right? They hit seniors like this really hard. I'm in trouble. Can you help me? Can you help me? Right? And then they try to create a false sense of urgency, and they will say, "Oh, you have ransom," where they'll say that we have your grandson, your child, your nephew, or whatever, and we need money, or we're going to kill him, or something. They will actually do that. They also have scams where they will say that your child was in a car accident. Right now, they're in the hospital and they can't talk, but they need $5,000 to actually treat them, or things like that. And you might say to yourself, "Well, I won't fall victim to that." But imagine you get this phone call 3 a.m. and you're really not in your right mind. And then they give you that false sense of urgency. They might even have someone screaming in the background of the call. And then now, you might be put in a situation where you might say, "You know what, I'm going to just, do this real quick just to make sure I take care of whatever situation is." And now you lose the money. Right? So this is how it works. Also, what scammers like to do is they'll stay on the phone with the victim while they're going into stores to make their gift card purchases, and then tell them not to let the store clerk know what is going on. They even tell them stories to make up so they will not be refused purchase of gift cards. Because some stores are smart. Some will not, pretty much not allow you to purchase a lot of gift cards, because they know that scammers are out there and scammers are doing, all these crazy things to people. So, don't feel no kind of way if you're a victim, right? Don't be ashamed to make a report. How you should protect yourself. Individuals will never be contacted by the NYPD or any other law enforcement agency, Social Security Administration, or any law enforcement agency, any other type of law enforcement agency, and be asked to submit money or information over the phone. If contacted by anyone claiming to represent any such agency and asking for money, New Yorkers should immediately hang up the phone. Right? In New York City, the NYPD or their charitable organization, the Police Foundation, will never solicit for funds. So you sometimes might get those people that say they represent the New York State Police Foundation or something like that. Don't ever give them any money. Don't give them your card information over the phone. Don't do any of that stuff, because you give them any other information, they might be able to not just phone scam you out of money. They might be able to steal your identity, and that's something else that we'll talk about at another time. Identity theft. Because that's also a big thing, and I can break down what identity theft is and how you can protect yourself, but that'll be at another time. We'll talk about that. But I want to talk about our seniors first. So you might say to yourself, after I just said to you, "Hey, these phone scams, people are calling and saying that they do this, they do that, they do this, they do that." You say, "Oh, well, I will never fall victim to this." Never say never. You just don't know. If someone calls you and say they're from the Social Security Administration and your Social Security is used in Texas, and now you got a warrant for your arrest, you don't know how what this might conjure up in you and make you want to do. So don't say, never say never. Another thing is, depending on your age group, I can tell you my age group, right? We have older children, in their 20s, early 20s or whatever. And then we have our parents who are seniors. So our generation, right, our group need to look after our seniors. They need to look after our children. So we're going to talk about both groups. Now, both groups are very funny. So children and your seniors think they know everything, right? The seniors say, hey, I've been around. I've done this before. You can't tell me anything. So they think they know it all, right? So they're like, you can't tell me anything. I can handle my business myself. Then you have the early 20-year-olds. They're basically the same type of people. They're the same thing. They do the same thing. They know more than you. They've been here before. They know everything, and you can't tell them anything, right? So you have people who are about that quick money. So you have what they do with the seniors is they give them some type of guilt, or they give them some type of urgency, sense of urgency, by proclaiming to be someone's child, grandchild, or something. And they try to talk to them and get them confused, and they try to get money from them. But you got to remember about some of our seniors. It's not like us. We still want to party. We want to hang out. So we buy clothes. We get these nice cars, and we spend money going out and taking trips. Seniors, they pretty much stay in the home, or they might go out to their doctor's appointments. So they're saving a large amount of money. That being said, they give away some of that money to people who take advantage of them, right? They're lonely. They call them. They're a voice to talk to. So if you have a senior in your life, call them, talk to them, see what's going on with them. Say, hey, listen, if anybody calls you and tells you that something happened or something's going on, you need to pay something, just call me and let me know about that first, before you do anything. They're going to probably be resistant because, like I said, they know it all. They've been around, but it doesn't matter. Just reach out to them, check on them, see what's going on. This pandemic, these scammers are running amok with our seniors because the seniors have been stuck in the house and they really couldn't go nowhere. So what happens? They call them on the phone, they develop a relationship with them, and they taking them for money. I've had a woman I spoke to, they took $60,000 from this woman. A lot of money, right? And they were proclaiming all kind of different stuff. I just heard on the news this morning, some guy on Instagram was proclaiming to be Bruno Mars, and he took a woman 63 years old for $5,000. You might say, well, that's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. But you got to remember something. We might be the generation that understands social media, right? And DMs and all those. And then the younger generation under us really do. But an older person takes people at face value, and they might say, well, this person said they are who they are. You never know, right? But check on your seniors. Please, please, please check on your seniors. Another group is our children. As well as I know, I think the reason why I couldn't do, I'm actually blaming him, but I probably shouldn't. But the reason why I couldn't really do this yesterday is the computer was acting up. I couldn't really, get this going. So I blame the kids because I said, listen, this homeschooling, which we'll probably have a whole separate conversation about homeschooling, right? Because I'm pretty sure everybody's going through this, and I said, oh, you messed my computer up. I couldn't do what I needed to do. But it is what it is. So our children, right? If you look at our children, you know how they are. You know your child. You know they do things that we don't know all about, right? So there's a couple other things that I'll probably talk about at another time when it comes to the children. Because if your child has a debit card, sometimes there's friends or somebody that they know will promise, hey, if you let me deposit $1,000 into your checking account, I'll take out, you give me 500 and then you'll keep 500, right? They'll tell them that, and your child won't tell you about that. But what ends up happening is they deposit this check into that account. Your child gives them the $500. The check finally clears. They realize that check is actually a bounced false check. And now your child's checking account is negative $1,000, right? That's when you're going to find out about it. They won't tell you about the person that approached them and said, I'll give you $1,000 and, take this $1,000 and you'll get 5 and I get 5. They won't tell you about that. But when the bank says you owe $1,000 and it's negative 1,000 in this account, that's when your child will tell you about that, right? It's just the way they do. I don't know about our children sometimes. Another thing is you have your children are just starting out, so some of them don't have any credit, right? But the scammers might say, "Hey, you have a, a bill." Oh, I got to go back. We have to talk about the Con Edison scams or like some type of utility scam. So they'll say Con Edison to say, "Look, I'm gonna cut your lights off if you don't pay this." And they were starting with Green Dot gift cards. Then they went to Apple prepaid gift cards. Listen, anybody who's ever had a house knows that there's no way Con Edison's ever going to call you and tell you that you got to pay with a Green Dot gift card, Apple gift card, or anything. Con Edison don't care how you pay them as long as you pay them, right? So if they say, "Hey, we're going to cut your bill off," I don't know if you know, but I'm going to tell you. So JD is going to tell you what happens if you about to get your stuff cut off. They send you a bunch of notices, right? The big red lettering that says, disconnection notice, right? And then first of all, if you're paying your bill or not anyway, right? So that's the first thing. You're not paying your bill, or you're paying your bill. They'll say disconnection notice. They'll give you 1,000 chances. And then they'll come and they'll cut your electricity off. And now, I don't know if you're paying attention, they're doing these new, basically wireless meters. I'm only assuming that they probably don't even have to send no one to the house now to cut your electricity off. They probably could do it from the office. So, but anyway, Con Edison calls you and says you need to pay right now or they're going to cut you off. Listen, that never happens, never works. Hang up the phone, call Con Edison yourself, and ask them what the status of your account is. That's the first thing. So I'm going to repeat that. Call Con Edison yourself and ask for the status of the account. Bottom line, don't just get excited off the phone call. You call and verify it yourself. And then you can even go down to a payment center and make the payment directly to Con Edison. So you don't have to wait. That's that. Also, if someone arrives at your house and say that they're Con Edison, tell them to show you ID. Tell them to give a number to verify that they are authorized to come there. How do you know that the number they gave you is an authentic number? It's going to be an 800 number. And it's and then even the person you speak to say, "Hey, what's your ID? What's your operator ID? What is the reason for this person to come to my house?" Right? But be wary because, like I said, they're replacing in Queens, they're replacing all of the meters with the smart meters. So you Con Edison might really knock on your door, but they usually send notices and tell you that they're going to come, and they'll almost schedule an appointment. But most of the time, most everyone's meters is outside, so they're not going to really need to interact with you. Any other companies come to the door, please do me a favor. Don't just let them in. Even though I'm talking about phone scams, you got to remember something else. Anytime you let a worker in the house, you don't know what they're really there for, right? Even if it's a legit worker. Don't get in the habit of leaving your mail out. Don't get in the habit of leaving checkbooks out. I know you're going to say, "I don't do that," but you never know. You have your checkbook, leave it. Don't leave it out, right? Also, don't have a bunch of your checkbooks right in one place, because if you're up to 500, if you see 500, your number on your checks are 500, but you're only using 2, or 3 or 10, just know, check that whole checkbook, right? Make sure you got all of them from 0 to 500. Just never know. Also, buy a shredder. Purchase a shredder. Purchase a shredder. Purchase a shredder. Shred your mail. Even the stuff that looks like it's junk. Because the junk mail, right, you have, I'll show the back part, right? You have stuff that comes like this, credit card or whatever. Even if you decide not to use it, shred that piece of paper. Don't rip it up, because someone could spend a lot of time taping that up. They can go online. They can use that ID. they can get a card under your name. But shred everything, shred it all. Also, be on the lookout in the neighborhood. Sometimes there's politicians, or I shouldn't say politicians, the elected officials, they sponsor shred trucks, right? These trucks are huge. You can bring all your papers there. You can watch it get shredded in this big machine, cross-cut, you name it. But if you purchase a shredder, make sure, I can't remember the technical details, but some of the shredders are, they have cross-cut, like they'll chop this thing up into little pieces. That's what you need. Because think about it. If you are a professional, wherever you work, you feel like you're an expert at what you do, criminals are expert at what they do. They might spend time and take this piece of paper and, you know what? I'm going to sit there and put it back together. And now they have your information. Another thing is guard your IDs. Do a favor for me. Take a picture of your IDs. I mean, not a picture. Basically, make a copy of your ID, right? Keep a copy in your wallet. Take the original ID and leave it in your whatever. Leave it at home somewhere, wherever you feel comfortable leaving it. You don't need, as police officers, as long as you have a legible copy of your ID and we can get the information, that's fine. We don't need the actual physical driver's license, because I'm going to tell you the reason why. People are breaking into cars now, and you think that they're looking for money or some type of valuables. No. But if you have an old piece of mail in your car, do you really think that you're going to be paying attention to the fact that someone just took an old piece of mail out of your car? You're not going to know. There's a document in there or something. It only takes 2 or 3 pieces of paper or mail or something like that to be able to identify you and to be able to get information on you. You pay $10, $20 online, I can get everything, all type of information about you. So these scammers are very sophisticated. The currency of this day and age is not drugs. It's not anything else. It's you. You're the currency. Your identity is the currency. They have what they call dark web, a dark web, which is basically the internet, under the internet, that they sell people's identities to people to use. I've had cases I dealt with where someone owned a house in North Carolina, never bought a house in their life. They've been renting an apartment all their life. They didn't even know they had a house. Someone used their identity to take a loan out, and they got a house. And they were paying a mortgage, right? So their credit was great, I guess, and they didn't know why, like their credit was so good. But come to find out, when they didn't pay the mortgage, the company reached out to them, and that's when they found out they had a house, a whole house. So, guard your information. When someone contacts you over the phone and say, hey, we're from such and such, we need you to verify who you are. I tell them what I always tell them. Why are you verifying who I am? You called me. So what do you need the verification for? You do the verification on your own. I'm not going to, and they like, sometimes they'll say to you, well, then, we can't do any business with you because we can't verify. Great. Then don't do any business with me. But I'm not going to verify who I am, and you called me. All right. That's the first thing. Every 6 months, change your passwords. Don't use passwords that's very easy for us to know, for people to know about you. We know you're a Gemini and you're born in June, right? So don't use June or don't use Gemini, right? Try to use things that will throw someone off. Use letters, numbers, and symbols for passwords. Now everyone's doing the biometrics, so you might be able to, do thumbprints. You name it now. It's technology's changing. But in terms of the phone scam, the one thing I'm going to leave you with is hang up the phone. The IRS will not contact you at all. Because if you ever called the IRS, it takes you 3 hours to even get to a representative. So if it takes 3 hours to get to a representative, who the heck is calling you, right? That's not going to happen. And I can tell you exactly how the IRS works. They'll send you 1,000 letters. You ignore it. You decided to ignore it. What end up happening is They'll start taking your bank account, right? You go to the bank, your bank account's frozen, your paycheck is garnished. You know the IRS is the biggest gangster on the planet. You can't play around with the IRS. The IRS is going to get you, right? So you don't even have to worry about no phone call. They're going to get you, but they're going to give you plenty of notice before they get you. So don't take no calls from the IRS. Hang up the phone. Don't take no call for Social Security. Hang up the phone. For my seniors or anyone collecting Social Security, pay attention. Well, anyone, pay attention to the mail that comes to your house. Read everything. If you can't read it right then and there, leave it on your kitchen table until Sunday when you're chilling, and read every bit of mail that you have. And the reason why I need you to do that is sometimes, let's just say you have Social Security payments coming your way, but you're a senior, you don't mess around with the computer, you don't have no online access to it. But all of a sudden, the IRS sends you a notice and it says you created an online. Don't ignore it. Call the IRS right then and there. The reason why is that means some scammer got a hold of the information. They created an online ID, and what they can do, they can actually divert your direct deposit into their account. That's one thing. Another thing with IRS now, it's kind of like IRS, but it's more of unemployment insurance. So the biggest scam now that they're doing is people are filing unemployment under your name. And the sad part is you won't even know it. Most of the time when people are finding out when it happens is actually when they file for taxes. And somehow it comes up. So be careful, make sure you secure your information. It's a lot of stuff out there. So that's why I said this is part one of probably a 3-part series, because I'm going to keep talking about this because these phone scams is getting out of hand and people are falling victim to it. You have identity theft is getting out of hand. People are falling victim to it. You have just people that might be around you that might be taking things from you that you don't know. And these items, come together. So I always say this, the victim, right? Don't be ashamed. Make a report. Don't feel no kind of way. If you think nothing to happen, sometimes, believe it or not, you make a report, it might work out in your favor and you might get your money back. You just never know. Tries beat the fail, right? I'm going to put this information up real quick. This is ID theft resource. It's www.identitytheft.gov. I'll say it again. You can see it on the screen. www.identitytheft.gov. Great resource. It has letters. It has the steps. Like if you were a victim of identity theft, it has different steps that you could take. It has the affidavit that you would need to file a police report. It has ways of avoiding identity theft. It talks about a lot of the things I just talked to you about. About how to avoid it. But it's a great resource because you just can't come to the police and make a report for identity theft. You have to take a couple of steps first. And after you take those steps, then you can come and make a report. But you remember, a lot of people are trying to scam the banks too. So the banks are not going to be that quick to give you your money back. They're going to make you jump through some hoops. So this identity theft site is great. So again, just follow it at the bottom. www.identitytheft.gov. It's a great resource. If you fell victim to any of these scams or identity theft or anything I talked about, you could do one or two things, right? Contact your local police department. Some of you guys might not be in New York City, so I'm not going to say the NYPD, but contact your local police department, call 911, or visit your local precinct. If you fell victim to this, gather any type of information that you can, any paperwork that you can to substantiate what you're saying is an issue. And that way you can bring that with you to the precinct to make a report. Don't feel no kind of way about making reports, right? Some people don't want to report stuff. I don't know why, but report it, because what ends up happening is you put all this stuff together. We might be able to target this one person. They actually captured a scammer in Jamaica, the West Indies, and they were able to recover a little bit of the money. So you might get a little something, you might not get everything. it happens. You never hear about the positive things. You're always going to hear more about the negative things, but some things, good things do happen in this world. And like I said, stay tuned. I'm going to post about other tips about identity theft and phone scams, but I'm kind of going to do this in a series because I want people to take it seriously. I'm going to replay the video at other times because I want you to show people about this. Be wary of this phone scams. Hang up the phone. Don't play with these people. Don't be like, oh, well, you talk to them, you think you're going to outsmart them. This is their full-time job. Hang up the phone. That's the bottom line. If you want to ask any questions, you got anything, any statements to make to me, contact me, right? info@seqproject2060.org. That's info@seqproject2060.org. Send me an email if you got any questions. I'll answer them to the best of my ability, or I'll get you the answer. But again, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for paying attention. I appreciate it. And you guys have a great night. You take care.